Hi everyone, my name is Ricky and today I'll be discussing creative and critical thinking theories with you guys. I will discuss 2 creative theories and 2 critical theories. Now before I continue, I want to ask you guys if my introduction was boring. It was, right? You don't have to tell me, just keep it to yourself. This is because my introduction lacked creativity and therefore was quite dull. I didn't use my critical thinking skills either to give you guys a more welcoming introduction. So I'll start yet again, but this time I'll try and be more creative. So, hello everyone, my name is Ricky and today I will be analysing 4 critical and creative theories, 2 from each type. To make it more interesting, I will portray each thinking tool as a string from my violin. Now a violin has 4 strings which you can play on, G, you can see that, G, D, A and E. An easy way to remember this is an expanded form, which is good dogs always eat. Keep that in mind, and without further ado, let's get to the first thinking tool. The first theory I will discuss is Wallace's thinking model, which we will portray as string G on my violin. Unfortunately, that string is broken since I haven't played it in a while, but let's get on with it. So Wallace's model is a creative thinking process that is separated into 4 separate stages: preparation, incubation, illumination, and verification/implementation. The first stage, preparation, is where one identifies the issue at hand as well as doing all the research required. Stage 2 is incubation, where one lets their mind do all the work. In other words, letting you go wild, thinking of ideas while you carry on with your day. The third stage is illumination, where you finally land on that one idea that is more appealing than all others that you've thought of. The final stage is verification, where you build on your idea from stage 3. You can make it suitable for your situation and finalize it. Wallace's model is something we unknowingly use almost every day. For instance, as a student, we are sometimes asked to use our creative side for projects. We struggle to find the right idea, and therefore we look towards people who have already completed what we have set out to do and research to get ideas and inspiration from, until we find that one idea that we like, and we build on from it and yield it into something relevant to our project. It has many advantages too, such as reducing the pressure of forming new ideas, as you can add to the ideas that have already been formed by others, in which case you think better with a relaxed mind. Essentially, Wallace's model is a great process to use for our personal endeavours, but also an ideal way of improving one's creativity level. The second creative technique is divergent thinking, which is perfect as the second string on a violin is D. That is D. Divergent thinking, in simple terms, is a process of generating many solutions and ideas for one specific problem. For instance, figuring out more than one way of using an item. An example would be using a toothbrush as a paintbrush, as a cleaning supply, and as a small hairbrush. Everyone knows that a toothbrush is mainly for our teeth. However, over the years, people have come up with more ideas, have come to the realization that toothbrushes can be used for multiple purposes. This would not be possible without divergent thinking. Divergent thinking is an excellent tool as it allows our minds to become more imaginable, more open, and view things in a different light. Like the toothbrush example, there are many items that were made with the purpose of performing one task. However, people have used the skill of divergent thinking to increase the purposes of one item can have, thus making it a useful method of creative thinking, especially for our students. If you do need to work on enhancing this ability, the best way to do so is to brainstorm any ideas you have, or practice brainstorming in general. Now that we have discussed our 2 creative theories, Wallace's model and divergent thinking, we know that Wallace's model is a process that helps enhance our creative thinking by encouraging improvement upon our ideas to acquire the best results. On the other hand, we have divergent thinking, which focuses on improving our ability to come up with several solutions to one problem, which is useful to our creative side, as we have a broader range of thoughts and ideas to choose from for future endeavours. The third thinking tool is making the familiar strange, which is a critical thinking theory. This theory will be portrayed as string A on our violin. String A. Making the familiar strange is a technique of viewing everything we take granted in our life in a different light altogether. For example, people always take the same route to work every day because they feel comfortable and safe taking it. This is because it becomes a force of habit for us without even knowing it. Myself, I take the same route to work every day, and I can't help it, as in a way it has become natural for me, and it takes me a long time before I realize that I took horseback drive yet again. The same goes for other aspects of our life as well, as we refuse to bring about change, which is why life gets boring sometimes. We have the same routines. We drop our kids to school, we go to work, we come back from work, we cook dinner, maybe watch a little bit of TV, we sleep, and then we do the same thing, the exact same thing the next day. Making the familiar strange is not only about perceiving something in a different way, but rather performing something in a different way too. Tell you what, try taking a new route to work from now on and see how you feel. I myself have made some very drastic changes in my life recently too, that I took for granted but was bored from. One of which is going back to my first ever hairstyle, which is braids. I haven't done anything spontaneous with my hair in a very long time, but here I am making the familiar strange, and I quite like it. The point to take away here is that making the familiar strange is not only an academic subject as students are asked to discuss in class, but rather a means of approaching life in a different manner and opening ourselves to new experiences and thoughts. The fourth and final theory is mental agility. This will be our final string, E. That is string E. Mental agility is the capability of one to think on their feet and to shift their thinking depending on the situation at hand. We use this thinking method for problem solving, learning at a faster pace, and creativity. Maths is a great example of testing our mental agility, especially times tables. Having to shift from 2 times tables to 12 times tables takes an agile brain to do so efficiently. We all possess this ability as our brains are always working 24/7. We humans are always thinking about something, whether unconsciously or consciously, and always moving from one topic to the other. However, not everyone's brain is as agile as another person's. I'll give you an example. Say you're in an escape room and you have 5 minutes to escape before the room gets locked forever. People who have a higher level of mental agility will be able to think quickly under the pressure of time, compared to people with a lower level of mental agility who will find it hard and struggle to cope under the pressure. You see, mental agility also means having the ability to remain calm under stressful situations. This enhances our communication skills, social skills, and also creativity. Doctors and lawyers are people who have a high level of mental agility. Doctors especially, because when they have patients who are in a life-threatening situation, doctors must think on their feet under the pressure of time to try and save the patient. Therefore, mental agility is a very valuable skill to have because you never know when it might come in handy. And if you would like to enhance your mental agility, the best ways to do so is to read, meditate, and be creative. So now if we compare making the familiar strange with mental agility, it is fair to say that mental agility is something we can gradually train our mind to be better at, whereas making the familiar strange is a theory that, although we can apply as often as we want, it is not something we can train to be better at. We have also learned that making the familiar strange is a skill that can be applied to any situation in our lives, whether it be education or just general lifestyle. All in all, while both theories, making the familiar strange and mental agility, are critical thinking theories, they both have their vast differences like anything. In conclusion, we have just discussed 4 thinking theories, 2 creative and 2 critical. Our creative theories, Wallace's model and divergent thinking, are quite similar in the fact that both improve our ability to think creatively. However, the route that we take is different from one another. Wallace's model is a process of 4 stages that is made up of research and then improvement upon those research ideas to make them appropriate to our circumstances. Whereas divergent thinking is less of a process and more of a direct approach where we try and solve a problem through gathering as many solutions as we possibly can. In contrast with our creative theories, we have our critical theories, making the familiar strange and mental agility. From discussing these, we have determined that making the familiar strange is something we can apply to multiple situations and perform more often, but cannot train our mind to do better. Whereas mental agility is a tool that we can gradually improve on, as well as learn to relax our mind and think on our feet. Essentially, all four theories discussed have their advantages that help us grow into more creative and critical thinking individuals. I thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something about critical and creative thinking, as well as a violin. There's also a violin, and I hope you liked my beads as well. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.